The cashier slammed her palm on the counter so hard the coins scattered everywhere. I said pay up or walk away. There's a line behind you, and I don't have time for this. Keisha Williams stood frozen. Her 11-month-old daughter Zoe, screaming in the stroller, burning with fever, her tiny face red with hunger and confusion. The infant formula sat on the counter. $18.49. Keisha had $11.87. Subscribe to my channel and stay with me until the very end of this story. Comment below and tell me which city you're watching from. I want to see how far this journey takes us. Keisha's hands wouldn't stop shaking. She had counted the money 4 times already. Quarters, dimes, nickels. A few pennies scraped from the bottom of her purse from between the car seats from the cup holder that hadn't held coffee in weeks, because coffee was a luxury she couldn't afford anymore. $11.87. The infant formula cost $18.49. Zoe screamed louder. The sound bounced off the pharmacy walls and hit Keisha like a physical blow. 11 months old, 103-degree fever. 10 hours since her last bottle because Keisha had run out of formula that morning and couldn't leave her shift at the truck stop without losing the whole day's pay. Ma'am? The cashier didn't hide her irritation. Blonde hair pulled back too tight, heavy makeup eyes that said she'd seen 1,000 broke mothers and stopped caring around number 50. There are people waiting. I know. Keisha's voice came out as a whisper. You're $6.62 short. The cashier said it loud enough for the businessman behind Keisha to huff with impatience, loud enough for the woman with the full cart to shake her head in disgust, loud enough for everyone in the pharmacy to know that Keisha Williams couldn't afford to feed her baby. The businessman checked his watch, sighed dramatically. Some of us have places to be, and the woman with the cart muttered something under her breath. Something about welfare mothers. Something about bad decisions. Something about people who shouldn't have kids if they couldn't afford them. Keisha heard every word. Zoe screamed louder. Her tiny fists waved in the air, reaching for something, anything, anyone who would make the hunger stop. Please. Keisha hated the word. Hated begging. She'd sworn after Derek that she would never beg again. But her daughter was sick and hungry, and she had nothing left. Nothing but pride. And pride didn't fill bottles. She's got a fever. I'll bring the rest tomorrow. I get paid tomorrow morning, I swear. Do I look like a bank? The cashier crossed her arms. Pay the full amount or step aside. I just need 1 day. 1 day and I can... Lady, I don't make the rules. You want formula, pay for it. You can't pay... Get out of line. The businessman huffed again. This is ridiculous. I'm sorry, Keisha whispered. I'm sorry, You're holding up the whole store. The woman with the cart pushed forward. Some of us actually have money to spend. Keisha's face burned. 25 years old. Single mother. 3 states away from the man who used to beat her. Working double shifts at a truck stop diner for tips that barely covered rent. Living in an apartment with no heat because she'd had to choose between warmth and formula last week and Formula 1. This was her life. This was rock bottom. Her hand reached for the formula to put it back. To walk out empty-handed. To figure out something anything like she always did. Maybe she could water down what was left at home. Maybe she could beg Mrs. Coleman next door for help. Maybe she could... The pharmacy doors exploded open. Not opened. Exploded. 5 men walked in. Leather cuts, chrome boots, patches on their backs that read, Hell's Angels MC in bold white letters. They moved like they owned the air. They breathed like the laws of physics bent around them instead of the other way around. The cashier's face went white. The businessman practically ran for the exit, suddenly remembering an appointment he'd forgotten. The woman with the cart grabbed her purse and headed for the door, her complaints dying in her throat. 2 teenage boys who had been browsing the candy aisle disappeared like smoke. In 3 seconds, the pharmacy emptied. Keisha grabbed Zoe's stroller and pulled it close. Her heart hammered against her ribs. In foster care, she'd learned to recognize danger. Men like this meant trouble. Men like this meant pain. She'd spent 2 years with Derek learning what happened when powerful men noticed you. Don't look at them. Don't make eye contact. Just get out. She reached for the formula one more time to put it back on the shelf. Leave it. The voice came from above her. Deep. Gravel and smoke and something else. Something that sounded almost like pain. Keisha looked up. The man was huge. 6'4" at least. Shoulders that blocked out the fluorescent lights. Gray-streaked beard that hadn't been trimmed in days. Hands the size of dinner plates covered in scars and calluses and faded tattoos that told stories she couldn't read. His cut said VP. Vice President. His face said he'd seen things that would keep normal people awake for years. But his eyes were locked on Zoe. Not threatening, not predatory. They were wet. They were broken. They were looking at her daughter like she was a ghost, like she was someone else, someone he'd lost. "How much is she short?" he asked the cashier without looking away from the baby. The cashier's voice came out small, scared. "Sir, I don't think I asked you a question." The other 4 bikers spread out behind him, not threatening, just present, just making it clear that whatever this man wanted, he was going to get. The cashier swallowed. Her attitude evaporated like morning fog. $6.62. The man pulled out his wallet, dropped a $100 bill on the counter like it was nothing, like it was pocket change, like money meant nothing to him at all. "Ring up everything she's got. Add the fever medicine behind you. The good kind, not the generic. And whatever diapers you've got in size 3. "Sir, did I stutter?" The cashier grabbed the items so fast she nearly knocked over the register. Scanning. Bagging. Moving like her life depended on it. Keisha couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't process what was happening. "I can't let you do this," she said. "Already doing it." "I don't even know you." "Name's Marcus." He still hadn't looked away from Zoe. "Ghost if you're feeling formal. Now you know me." "Why would you— How old?" He cut her off. His voice cracked slightly on the question. "What? Your girl. How old is she?" 11 months. Something flashed across the man's face. Pain. Raw and fresh. Like a wound that had never healed. Like someone had reached into his chest and ripped out something vital and left him bleeding on the inside where no one could see him. "She's beautiful." His voice broke on the word. "Looks just like—" He stopped. Cleared his throat. Looked away for the first time since he'd walked in. 24.67. The cashier announced. Her voice was small now. Scared. "Would you like a bag?" "Give her 2 bags, and throw in some food from aisle 3. Crackers, juice, whatever looks like she might eat it." "I don't need—" Keisha started. "When's the last time you ate?" The question hit her like a slap. "I'm fine." "That's not what I asked." Marcus's eyes found hers for the first time. Gray-blue, like storm clouds over the ocean. The kind of eyes that had seen everything and judged nothing. "You're shaking. You're pale. Your lips are cracked from dehydration." His voice softened slightly. "So I'll ask again. When's the last time you ate?" Keisha couldn't remember. Yesterday. The day before, she'd given her last package of crackers to Mrs. Coleman, the elderly neighbor who watched Zoe when Keisha worked doubles. Mrs. Coleman was 83, and her arthritis was getting worse, and she refused to take money for babysitting, so Keisha paid her in food instead. "It doesn't matter," Keisha said. "It matters." Marcus took the bags from the cashier and held them out. "She needs you healthy. Can't take care of her if you collapse." Keisha stared at the bags. Formula. medicine, diapers, food. More than she'd been able to buy in weeks. From a stranger, a biker, a man covered in patches and tattoos who looked like he could crush her skull with one hand. "Why?" She whispered the word like a prayer. Marcus didn't answer right away. He looked at Zoe again. Really looked. And Keisha saw his jaw tighten, saw his hands clench at his sides, saw something in his eyes that she recognized because she saw it in her own mirror every morning. Grief. The kind that never goes away. The kind that becomes part of your bones. The kind that changes who you are at the cellular level. "Because nobody helped when it mattered," he finally said, "and I swore I'd never let that happen again." He held out the bags. Keisha's hand trembled as she took them. One of the other bikers stepped forward, younger, shaved head, neck tattoos that crawled up toward his jaw. "You need a ride somewhere?" he asked. His voice was surprisingly gentle. "It's cold out there. I have a car. That thing in the parking lot." Another biker laughed. Not cruel, just surprised. "That's a car." "Diesel." Marcus's voice was sharp. "Enough. I'm just saying, brother, that thing looks like it's held together with prayers and duct tape." "It runs," Keisha said defensively. Marcus studied her for a moment. "Let's go take a look." They walked out together, all 5 bikers surrounding her like a protective wall. People on the sidewalk crossed to the other side of the street. A man getting out of his car took one look at the group and got right back in. The '98 Toyota Corolla sat alone in the far corner of the lot. It had been green once. Now it was mostly rust and prayer. The back bumper hung on with bungee cords. The passenger window was plastic sheeting and duct tape. The engine made sounds that belonged in a horror movie. But it ran. Most of the time. "This is what you're driving." Marcus walked around the car slowly. His face darkened with every step. "It works. In December, with a baby. It has heat." "Does it?" Keisha didn't answer. The heat had stopped working 2 weeks ago. She kept blankets in the back seat for Zoe. Marcus crouched down and looked under the car. When he stood up, his expression had changed. Harder. Angrier. But not at her. "You've got an oil leak. Bad one. When's the last time you checked the fluids?" "I don't. The tires are bald. Brake pads are probably gone. And I'm guessing that engine knocks like hell when you start it." "It gets us where we need to go." "For now." Marcus's voice hardened. "Another week, maybe 2, and this thing dies on the highway with your baby in the back seat. That what you want?" Keisha's throat tightened. She knew the car was dying. She'd known for months. But mechanics cost money, and money was something she didn't have. "I'll figure it out," she said. "You'll figure it out." Marcus repeated the words like they tasted bad. "That what you tell yourself when things fall apart, that you'll figure it out. It's worked so far. Has it?" He gestured at the car, at her worn shoes at the pharmacy they'd just left. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're drowning, and you're too proud to ask for a hand." Keisha's eyes stung. "Don't cry. Don't you dare cry in front of him. I don't need charity." "Good, because I'm not offering charity." Marcus pulled a card from his jacket. Plain white, black letters, just a name and a phone number. "I'm offering help. There's a difference." Keisha looked at the card but didn't take it. What's the catch? No catch. There's always a catch. She'd learned that lesson young. In foster homes where kindness came with conditions. In relationships where love meant control. With Derek, who'd started out as a prince and ended up as a prison. Nobody gives something for nothing. Marcus studied her for a long moment. Something shifted in his expression. Recognition, maybe. Understanding. You're right, he said finally. There is something I want. Keisha's stomach dropped. Here it comes. The price, the trap, the thing that would make all of this make sense in the worst possible way. I want you to call me tomorrow. His voice was quiet, steady. Let me fix this car so your daughter doesn't freeze to death in the back seat. And maybe, he paused, maybe let yourself trust that not everyone's out to hurt you. He held out the card again. That's it. That's the catch. Keisha's hand trembled as she took it. Marcus Thompson, 555-847-9923. Why do you care? She asked. You don't know me. You don't know anything about me. I know enough. Marcus stepped back. I know you're working yourself to death trying to keep that baby fed. I know you're one bad week away from losing everything. His voice dropped. And I know that look in your eyes. What look? The one that says you've been alone so long you forgot what help looks like. Keisha couldn't breathe. Get in the car. Marcus's voice softened. Diesel's going to follow you home. Make sure you get there safe. Tomorrow morning you call me. We'll figure out the rest. And if I don't call... Marcus almost smiled. Almost. Then I'll find you anyway. That car's hard to miss. Keisha drove home with one eye on the rear-view mirror. The biker Diesel kept a steady distance behind her. Not threatening, just present, watching over her like a guardian angel in leather and chrome. Zoe had fallen asleep in her car seat. The medicine was already working. Her tiny face was peaceful for the first time in hours. Keisha's mind raced. Who were these people? Why did they help her? What did Marcus see when he looked at Zoe that made him look so broken? She didn't have answers. She wasn't sure she wanted them. The apartment was freezing when she carried Zoe inside. She'd turned off the heat 2 weeks ago. Couldn't afford it. The oven stayed on when she was home. Door cracked open, pumping warm air into the tiny kitchen. It wasn't safe. She knew it wasn't safe. But it was better than watching her baby shiver. Zoe's fever had dropped by the time Keisha got the medicine in her. Small victories. The only kind she ever got. She made a bottle with the new formula and held Zoe close while she ate. The baby's eyes drooped, fighting sleep, fighting sickness, fighting everything. I'm sorry, Keisha whispered. I'm so sorry, baby. Mama's trying. I promise I'm trying. Zoe finished the bottle and finally slept. Keisha put her in the crib, second-hand, wobbling, held together with zip ties, and collapsed onto the mattress on the floor. She should eat. The crackers Marcus bought were in the bag by the door. Her stomach ached with emptiness, but her body wouldn't move. Her eyes wouldn't stay open. She fell asleep with Marcus's card still clutched in her hand. The nightmare came at 3 a.m. Derek's face. His perfect smile, his hands around her throat, his voice in her ear calm and cold and absolutely certain. You think you can run from me. You think you can hide. I own you, Keisha. I will always own you. She was back in that apartment in Cleveland, back on the floor where he'd thrown her. Back tasting blood in her mouth while he stood over her, straightening his tie like nothing had happened. Look what you made me do, he said. Why do you always make me do this? I'm sorry, she heard herself whisper. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. You will be? He raised his hand again. Keisha woke up gasping. Zoe was crying. She stumbled to the crib, heart pounding, hands shaking. Checked the baby's temperature. Normal. Changed her diaper. Made another bottle. 3:47 a.m. She had to be at work by 6. 3 hours of sleep if she was lucky. This is my life, she thought. This is what survival looks like. Zoe fell back asleep. Keisha didn't. She sat on the mattress, knees pulled to her chest, watching the shadows move across the ceiling. Remembering. The first time Derek hit her, she'd made excuses for him. He was stressed. He was tired. She'd said the wrong thing at the wrong time. The second time she'd believed him when he cried and promised it would never happen again. The third time she'd stopped counting. By the time she got pregnant, she knew the truth. Derek Mitchell wasn't the man she'd fallen in love with. Maybe that man had never existed at all. Maybe he'd been a mask, a performance, a trap designed to catch women like her. Women with no family, no support, no one who would notice if they disappeared. She'd stayed anyway. Stayed because she had nowhere to go. Stayed because Derek controlled the money, the car, the phone, everything. Stayed because leaving seemed impossible. Until Zoe was born. Everything changed when she held her daughter for the first time. When she looked into those tiny eyes and saw herself reflected back. When she realized that if she stayed, Zoe would grow up watching her mother get beaten. Would learn that this was normal. Would end up in the same trap someday. That night, while Derek slept, Keisha packed one bag. Took every dollar she could find. Put Zoe in the car seat and drove. 3 days. 3 states. No sleep, no plan, just running. She'd ended up here. In this apartment with no heat, working double shifts for tips, counting coins in pharmacy parking lots. But Zoe was safe. That was all that mattered. The truck stop diner smelled like grease and diesel fuel and desperation. Keisha moved between tables on autopilot. Coffee here, eggs there. Smile at the trucker who left a decent tip. Ignore the one whose eyes lingered too long. Zoe was in the back office, sleeping in her car seat. Doris, the manager, had agreed to let Keisha bring her on days when she couldn't find childcare, which was every day now. Mrs. Coleman had helped before, but she was 83, and her arthritis was getting worse. "I love that baby," she'd told Keisha last week. "But my hands don't work like they used to. I can barely hold her anymore." "I understand," Keisha had said. "Thank you for everything. You're a good mother, child." Mrs. Coleman had squeezed her hand. "Don't let anyone tell you different." But right now, standing in this diner with her feet aching and her back screaming and her eyes burning from lack of sleep, Keisha didn't feel like a good mother. She felt like a failure. "Order up." The cook slammed the bell. Keisha grabbed the plates. Table 4, bacon and eggs. Table 9, pancakes, extra syrup. She was heading back to the counter when Doris grabbed her arm. "Someone's asking for you." Keisha's blood went cold. She knew before she turned around. Knew the way you know a storm is coming before the first drop of rain falls. Knew the way prey knows when a predator is near. Derek Mitchell sat in the corner booth. Clean shave. Expensive suit. Perfect smile that had fooled her once, back when she was young and stupid and desperate for someone to love her. "Hey, baby." He said it loud enough for the whole diner to hear. "Surprised to see me?" Keisha's legs locked. Move, run, get Zoe and go. But she couldn't. Her body remembered. The bruises. The broken ribs. The night she'd prayed for death, because it would be easier than this. "What do you want?" Her voice came out flat. Dead. "Is that any way to greet the father of your child?" Derek spread his hands, the picture of wounded innocence. "I've been looking everywhere for you, Keisha. I was worried sick. I don't want to talk to you. That's not very nice." His smile didn't waver. "I came all this way just to see you, to see our daughter." "She's not your daughter?" "Birth certificate says different." Derek leaned forward. His eyes changed. The charm slipped just for a second, and Keisha saw what was underneath. Cold. Calculating. Dangerous. "I've been thinking, Keisha, about us, about our family. I made mistakes. I know I did. But I've changed. You don't change. People grow. He spread his hands again. I've got a good job now. Nice apartment. I've been going to therapy working on myself. Good for you. Now leave me alone. Derek's smile flickered, just slightly. A crack in the mask. I'm trying to be civil here, Keisha. I'm trying to do this the right way, but you're not making it easy. There is no right way. I left. I'm not coming back. End of story. Is it? He reached into his jacket, pulled out an envelope, slid it across the table like he was dealing cards in a poker game he'd already won. Custody hearing. 3 weeks from Thursday. I'm suing for full custody of Zoe. The words hit Keisha like bullets. You can't do that. Already did? Derek leaned back, casual, confident. The smile was back, but it had changed. Sharper now. Crueler. You know what a judge sees when he looks at you, Keisha, a waitress. No education, no family, no support system, living in a hole with a space heater and a mattress on the floor. That's not, how do you know where I live? The question came out before she could stop it. Derek laughed. Soft. Dangerous. I know everything, Keisha. I know you work double shifts and still can't afford formula. I know your car is held together with tape and prayer. I know that old woman who watched Zoe can barely hold a coffee cup anymore. Keisha's hands shook. I also know about Westbrook. The name hit her like ice water. Westbrook. The group home where she'd spent 2 years as a teenager. The incident that had almost landed her in juvenile detention. The file that was supposed to be sealed. That's sealed, she whispered. Nothing's sealed when you know the right people. Derek stood up, dropped a 50 on the table like it was nothing. I'm giving you a choice, Keisha. Come back to me willingly, and we can be a family again. I'll drop the custody suit. I'll take care of you. I'll take care of our daughter. And if I don't, Derek's smile turned into something else, something that made Keisha's blood freeze. Then I'll destroy you. I'll take Zoe. I'll make sure you never see her again. And I'll do it legally, publicly, in a way that makes you look like the unfit mother we both know you are. He straightened his tie. 3 weeks, baby. Think about it. He walked out. Keisha stood frozen, holding the custody papers, watching her entire world collapse around her. She made it to the bathroom before she shattered. The sobs came hard and violent, her whole body shaking against the cold tile wall. She bit her fist to muffle the sounds. Didn't want Doris to hear. Didn't want anyone to know. Derek had found her. 3 states. Different name on the mailbox. Cash only for everything. And he'd still found her. Of course he did. Derek always found her. Derek always won. She pulled out her phone with trembling hands. Who could she call? She had no family. Her mother had overdosed when she was 6. Her father was a blank space on a birth certificate. The foster system had taught her one lesson. You're on your own. A lawyer. She needed a lawyer. But lawyers cost money. Money she didn't have. Money she couldn't get. She barely had enough for rent, for food, for formula. How was she supposed to fight Derek in court? How was she supposed to compete with his money, his connections, his lawyers? The card. It was still in her pocket. She'd grabbed it that morning without thinking, slipping it into her apron next to her order pad. Marcus Thompson, 555-847-9923. Don't do it. You don't know him. He's a stranger, a biker. For all you know, he's worse than Derek. But Derek wanted to take Zoe. Derek wanted to put her baby in that house with that monster. Keisha dialed. It rang once. Yeah, it's Keisha, from the pharmacy, from last night. Silence. Then Marcus's voice shifted. Softer. Concerned. The baby okay? She's fine, but something happened. Her voice cracked. My ex showed up. He's suing for custody, and I don't have money for a lawyer, and he knows people, and Where are you? The truck stop diner, off Highway 12. I'm 20 minutes out. Don't move. The line went dead. Keisha stared at the phone. What did I just do? She went back to work. What else could she do? Tables still needed serving. Tips still needed earning. Life didn't stop just because yours was falling apart. But her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She dropped a plate, spilled coffee on a customer's lap, forgot an order entirely. You okay, honey? Doris asked. Her face was concerned. You look like you've seen a ghost. I'm fine. You sure? Because you've been staring at that door for the last 10 minutes like you're expecting someone. I said I'm fine. Doris held up her hands. Okay, just asking. 18 minutes later, the motorcycles arrived. Keisha watched through the window as 5 Harleys pulled into the lot. Marcus in front, the others behind him like soldiers following a general into battle. They walked through the door and the entire diner went silent. Conversations died. Forks froze halfway to mouths. The cook stopped cooking. Every head turned toward the entrance, toward the 5 men in leather cuts with patches that said, Hell's Angels. Marcus crossed the room in 4 strides. His eyes scanned Keisha's face, reading the tear tracks, the red eyes, the terror she couldn't hide. Where is he? Gone. He left an hour ago. The papers. Keisha handed them over. Watched Marcus's face harden as he read. Watched his jaw clench. Watched his hands tighten until the paper crinkled. This is bull. His voice was low. Dangerous. Half of this is fabricated. It doesn't matter. Keisha's voice broke. He has money. Lawyers. Connections. I have nothing. You have us. Another biker stepped forward. Tighten his patch read, President. Gray beard eyes that had seen everything and judged nothing. He was older than Marcus. Bigger. The kind of man who didn't need to raise his voice because everyone already knew to listen. Ghost called us on the way here, Titan said. Told us the situation. He looked at Keisha, and his voice softened slightly. This girl's under our protection now. Her and the baby. Anyone comes for them, another biker added. They come through us first. Keisha's legs buckled. Marcus caught her before she hit the floor. Hey. His voice dropped. Gentle now. Hey, look at me. She looked up. Met his eyes. Saw something there she didn't recognize. Something that looked almost like hope. You're not alone anymore. He said the words like a promise. Like a vow. You understand me, whatever it takes. Whatever we have to do. That man is never going to touch your daughter. You can't promise that. Watch me. Doris appeared at their side. Her face was pale, but she stood her ground. Keisha, what's going on? She's leaving, Marcus said. Right now. Get her daughter from the back. Now wait just a minute. Titan stepped forward. He didn't say anything. Just looked at Doris. One long, steady look. Doris swallowed. I'll get the baby. They moved her that night. Not to a shelter. Not to a motel. To a small apartment above the Hell's Angels clubhouse. Clean, warm, safe. The building was old but solid. Red brick, steel doors, security cameras at every entrance. The kind of place that said whatever's out there, it's not getting in here. It's not fancy, Marcus said, setting down the last box of her meager possessions. But nobody gets up here without going through us first. Keisha stood in the middle of the room, Zoe asleep in her arms, trying to process what was happening. 24 hours ago, she'd been counting coins in a pharmacy. Now she was standing in an apartment owned by a motorcycle gang surrounded by men in leather who'd promised to protect her from a monster she'd spent 2 years running from. "I'll pay rent," she said, "as soon as I can. We'll figure that out later." "I mean it. I'm not a charity case." "Never said you were." Marcus walked to the window, looked out at the parking lot full of motorcycles. The tension in his shoulders hadn't eased all day. "You remind me of someone," he said quietly. "Who?" For a long moment, he didn't answer. When he spoke, his voice cracked. "My daughter, Jasmine." Keisha's breath caught. She was 24 when she died. The words hung in the air like smoke. She had a baby. Destiny, 11 months old. His hands gripped the windowsill. Same age as Zoe. Keisha couldn't move. What happened? "Drunk driver. Red light. Killed them both." The pain in his voice was unbearable, raw, fresh, like it had happened yesterday instead of years ago. "I was supposed to pick them up that day." Marcus's voice broke completely. "I was running late. 20 minutes. If I'd been there, it wasn't your fault." "Doesn't matter." He turned to face her. His eyes were wet. "I couldn't save them. I spent 3 years wishing I could change it. Drinking, fighting, trying to die without having the guts to do it myself. Marcus, but then I saw you." His voice was barely a whisper. "In that pharmacy, counting coins, crying, fighting for your baby with everything you had. And I thought maybe this is why I'm still here. Maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. I can't replace your daughter." "You're not replacing her." He crossed the room, stopped in front of her. "You're giving me a reason to be the man she always believed I was." He reached out, touched Zoe's cheek where she slept. "Let me help you, please." Keisha stood there, 25 years old, exhausted, terrified, holding together by threads. She'd never trusted anyone in her life. Not really, not completely. Every person who'd ever promised to help her had let her down. Every hand that reached out had come with strings attached. But Marcus wasn't asking for anything. He was offering everything. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." Marcus nodded. Just once. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow we find you a lawyer." He walked toward the door. "Marcus." He stopped. "Thank you." He didn't turn around. "Don't thank me yet. We've got a long fight ahead." A woman appeared in the doorway behind him. Mid-60s. Kind face. Gray hair pulled back in a neat bun. She was carrying a casserole dish that smelled like heaven. "Go stop being dramatic and let the poor girl eat." She pushed past him into the apartment. "I'm Mama June, Titan's wife. You must be starving." "I'm fine, Honey, you look like you haven't had a decent meal in weeks." Mama June set the dish on the counter and started pulling plates from the cabinet. "Sit down. Eat. We can talk about everything else tomorrow." Keisha opened her mouth to protest. That wasn't a suggestion. She sat. Mama June loaded a plate with food and set it in front of her. Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green beans, more food than Keisha had seen in months. "The boys told me what happened." Mama June sat down across from her. "With your ex, with the custody thing. It's complicated. It always is." Mama June's voice was gentle. "But you're safe now. You and that beautiful baby. And this family, this club, we take care of our own. I'm not part of your—" "You are now." Mama June smiled. "Whether you like it or not." Keisha ate. She didn't mean to, but the food was warm, and her body was so hungry, and Mama June kept refilling her plate, and before she knew it, she'd eaten more than she had in weeks. "There," Mama June said, satisfied. "That's better. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow we start fighting back." She left. Marcus left. The apartment fell silent, Keisha put Zoe in the crib someone had set up in the corner, brand new, not second-hand, with clean sheets, and a mobile that played soft music, and stood there watching her sleep. Safe. Her baby was safe. For now. Somewhere across town, in a high-rise apartment worth more than Keisha would make in 10 lifetimes, Derek Mitchell poured himself a scotch and smiled. His phone buzzed. Tell me. She's at the Hells Angels clubhouse, North Side. They moved her tonight. Derek swirled his drink, watched the light play through the amber liquid. Interesting. She found herself some muscle. These guys are serious, Mr. Mitchell. They've got a reputation. Maybe we should... Should what? Derek's voice went cold. Back off. Let her win. I'm just saying, I don't pay you to say. I pay you to do. Derek walked to the window, looked out at the city lights below. I want you to dig. Every member of that club, every business they run, every skeleton in every closet. Find me something I can use. That's going to take time. I have 3 weeks. Derek drained his glass. By the time I'm done, Keisha Williams is going to wish she'd never been born. He ended the call. His phone buzzed again. Different number. What? It's Vega. The voice on the other end was rough, accented, dangerous. I heard you've got a problem. I've got a situation. There's a difference. The Hells Angels are not a situation. Carlos Vega laughed. Soft. Cold. They're a problem. A big one. I know these people, Mitchell. I have history with them. What kind of history? The kind that ends with people in prison. Vega's voice hardened. 3 years ago, they helped the feds take down my operation. Cost me everything. I've been waiting for a chance to return the favor. Derek smiled. Maybe we can help each other. Maybe we can. Derek poured himself another drink. Tell me what you know about Marcus Thompson. Ghost. Vega laughed again. I know everything. His daughter, his granddaughter, the accident that destroyed him. A pause. I know what makes him weak. Derek's smile widened. I'm listening. Outside the window, the city stretched endlessly into the night. Towers of glass and steel, millions of lights, millions of lives, all of them oblivious to the war that was about to begin. Derek ended the call and raised his glass to his reflection in the window. Run all you want, baby, he whispered. You're still mine. And somewhere across town, in a small apartment above a motorcycle clubhouse, Keisha Williams held her daughter close and prayed for a miracle. She didn't know it yet, but the miracle had already begun, and the war was just getting started. 3 days passed like 3 years. Keisha woke each morning expecting the other shoe to drop, expecting Marcus to change his mind, expecting the kindness to reveal its price the way kindness always did in her life. It never happened. Mama June knocked on her door every morning with breakfast. Eggs, bacon, toast with real butter. Coffee that didn't come from a gas station. You're too thin, Mama June said on the second day, pushing a plate into Keisha's hands. Zoe needs you strong. Eat. I can't keep taking from you. It's not taking. It's family. Mama June's eyes softened. Something in them reminded Keisha of the grandmother she'd never had. You don't know what that means yet, Mama June said quietly. But you will. Titan stopped by in the afternoons to check on her. He never said much. Just stood in the doorway, asked if she needed anything, nodded when she said no. But his presence felt like a wall between her and the world. Solid. Unbreakable. Diesel brought toys for Zoe. Stuffed animals. Rattles. Things his own grandkids had outgrown. My daughter's got 3 little ones, he explained, setting a teddy bear in Zoe's lap. They grow out of stuff so fast. Figured your girl could use them. Thank you. Keisha's voice caught. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. Diesel shrugged. I want to. There's a difference. A biker named Wrench fixed the leak in her bathroom sink without being asked. Another one named Bullet brought her a space heater so she wouldn't have to use the oven for warmth anymore. And every evening, Marcus came. He never stayed long, just long enough to see Zoe, to watch her grab at his beard with her tiny fingers, to let something in his hard face crack open for just a moment. She's gaining weight, he said on the third night. The formula's working. She's eating better. Keisha stood in the small kitchen making coffee she didn't really want because it gave her hands something to do. Sleeping better, too. The fever's completely gone. Good. Marcus let Zoe wrap her fingers around his thumb. That's good. Silence settled between them. The comfortable kind. The kind Keisha didn't know existed. I called a lawyer today, Marcus said finally. Michelle Ford. She's good. Grew up around the club. Her dad was a member back in the day. Now she runs a family law practice downtown. Keisha's hands tightened on the coffee mug. I can't afford a lawyer. She's doing it pro bono. Why? Because I asked her to. Marcus looked up. And because she hates men like your ex, the ones who use money and power to hurt women who can't fight back. Keisha wanted to argue. Wanted to say she didn't need charity. But she was so tired of fighting alone. When does she want to meet? Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. I'll drive you. You don't have to, Keisha. Marcus's voice was firm, but not unkind. Let me help. That's all I'm asking. Just let me help. Zoe gurgled and slapped at his beard. For a moment, Marcus's eyes glistened. Okay, Keisha whispered. Okay. The next morning, Marcus drove her downtown on the back of his Harley. Zoe stayed with Mama June, who had practically adopted the baby as her own grandchild. She'll be fine, Mama June had promised, bouncing Zoe on her hip. Go handle your business. We'll be here when you get back. Michelle Ford's office was on the 4th floor of an old brick building. The woman behind the desk looked like she could argue God himself into submission. Mid-40s, sharp eyes, hair pulled back in a no-nonsense bun. Grace Hartley. Michelle stood and extended her hand. I've heard a lot about you. From Marcus. From the papers your ex filed. She gestured to the chairs across from her desk. Sit down. We have a lot to discuss. Marcus took the chair by the door. Keisha sat across from Michelle and felt like she was waiting for a verdict. I'm going to be straight with you, Michelle said, opening a folder. Derek Mitchell has money. He has connections. And he has a legal team that specializes in making mothers look unfit. Keisha's stomach dropped. So I'm going to lose. I didn't say that. Michelle leaned forward. I said he has resources. But resources don't win cases. Evidence wins cases. And right now all Derek has is money and accusations. He has my juvenile record, which is sealed. He got access somehow. Michelle's eyes narrowed. That's interesting. Sealed records don't unseal themselves. She made a note. I'll look into how he obtained that information. If he did it illegally, it's inadmissible. And it might give us grounds for a countersuit. For the first time in days, Keisha felt something like hope. What do you need from me? Everything. Michelle pulled out a legal pad. Start from the beginning. How you met Derek. What the relationship was like. Why you left. Every detail, no matter how small. Keisha took a breath. And she told her everything. The way Derek had swept into her life when she was 22, working at a coffee shop, barely surviving. He'd been charming. Attentive. The first person who'd ever made her feel seen. The flowers. The compliments. The future he promised. The first time he hit her 6 months into the relationship. The apologies afterward. The promises it would never happen again. It happened again, and again, and again. The pregnancy was supposed to change everything, Keisha said, her voice hollow. Derek was so excited. He built a nursery. He talked about the future like it was real. What happened? Zoe was born. Keisha's throat tightened. He wanted a son. When they told him it was a girl, something changed in his eyes. He looked at her like she was defective. Michelle's pen stopped moving. Did he ever hurt Zoe? No. He wouldn't touch her, wouldn't hold her, wouldn't even look at her. Keisha's voice cracked. But he hurt me in front of her, while she was in the room. How often? Every week, sometimes more. Marcus shifted in his chair. Keisha couldn't look at him, couldn't bear to see what was in his eyes. I left when Zoe was 2 months old, she continued. Derek was at work. I packed one bag, took everything I could carry, drove 3 days straight until I ended up here. Did you file a police report? No. Why not? Keisha laughed bitterly. Derek has cops on his payroll. He told me once when he was drunk. Said if I ever tried to report him, he'd have me arrested instead. Said he had friends who could make anything happen. Michelle set down her pen. Keisha, look at me. Keisha looked up. I've handled cases like this before. Men who think their money makes them untouchable. Men who use the system to abuse women who can't fight back. Michelle's voice was steel. They're not untouchable. And we're going to prove it. How? By building a case so solid that no judge in their right mind would give him custody. Michelle stood and walked to her filing cabinet. I need documentation, medical records, photos, anything that shows what he did to you. I don't have any of that. Did you ever go to the hospital? Once. I told them I fell. Did anyone else know about the abuse? Friends, neighbors? Mrs. Coleman, my neighbor back in Ohio. She heard us fighting once, saw the bruises. I'll need her contact information. Michelle pulled out another folder. What about character witnesses? People who can speak to what kind of mother you are. Keisha's voice cracked. I don't have anyone. You have us. Marcus's voice cut through the room. Both women turned to look at him. Every member of this club has watched Keisha with that baby, he said. Every one of them can testify to what kind of mother she is. Mama June, Titan, the other wives, they've all seen it. Michelle's eyebrows rose. You're offering to have Hell's Angels members testify in a custody hearing, if that's what it takes. Derek's lawyers will have a field day with that. They'll paint her as someone who exposes her child to dangerous criminals. Then we show them who we really are. Marcus stood up. We're not what people think. Most of us have families. Kids, grandkids. We run legitimate businesses, pay our taxes, follow the law. Most of the time, Michelle said dryly. When it counts. Marcus's jaw tightened. That little girl deserves to stay with her mother, and we're going to make damn sure that happens. Michelle studied him for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. All right, I'll need affidavits from anyone willing to testify. Detailed accounts of Keisha's parenting, character references, and I'll need the club's financial records to prove the businesses are legitimate. Done. I'll also need you to keep a low profile, Keisha. No incidents, no altercations, nothing Derek's lawyers can use against you. I understand. Good. Michelle gathered her files. The hearing is in 18 days. That's not a lot of time. But if we work together, we can build a defense. They walked out of Michelle's office into the cold December air. Marcus handed Keisha the spare helmet without a word. Thank you, she said. For finding her. For all of this. Don't thank me yet. Marcus swung onto the bike. We've got a long road ahead. Keisha climbed on behind him, wrapped her arms around his waist. Marcus. Yeah, why did you really help me that night in the pharmacy? She paused. You didn't know anything about me. Didn't know I was running from someone. Didn't know about Derek. Marcus didn't answer right away. The engine rumbled beneath them. You really want to know? Yes. He turned his head slightly, just enough for her to hear. Because when I saw Zoe crying in that stroller, I saw Destiny, my granddaughter, 11 months old when she died. His voice cracked. And when I saw you counting those coins, I saw Jasmine, my daughter, fighting for her baby with everything she had. Keisha's arms tightened around him. I couldn't save them, Marcus said. I was 20 minutes late. 20 minutes. And by the time I got there, the ambulance was already gone. I'm so sorry. I spent 3 years drinking myself to death, hoping I'd crash the bike, hoping something would end it, and he kicked the bike into gear. Then I saw you, and I thought maybe this is my second chance. Maybe this is what I'm supposed to do, help people who need it, the way I should have helped them. They rode in silence back to the clubhouse. Keisha held on tight, her face pressed against the leather of his jacket, crying tears that the wind swept away before they could fall. A week passed. Keisha fell into a rhythm. Mornings with Zoe. Afternoons working at the auto shop the club owned, answering phones, scheduling appointments, making herself useful. Evenings helping Mama June cook dinner for whoever showed up hungry. She'd never had a routine before. Never had people who expected her to be somewhere. Not because they needed something from her, but because they wanted her there. It was terrifying. It was wonderful. You're good with the customers, Titan told her one afternoon. He'd stopped by the shop to check on things and found Keisha charming a grumpy old man whose truck needed a new transmission. Really good. I worked at a diner for 2 years. You learn to handle difficult people. This one's more than difficult. That's Earl Patterson. He's been coming here for 15 years and never once said thank you. He said it today. Keisha smiled. Twice. Titan laughed. A deep rumbling sound that shook his whole body. Mama June was right about you. Right about what? She said you were special. Said there was something about you that reminded her of her sister. Her sister. Titan's smile faded slightly. She died young. Cancer. Left behind 2 kids who had nobody. What happened to them? Mama June raised them, both of them. Worked 3 jobs to put them through school. He shook his head. That's why she took to you so fast. She knows what it's like to fight for family when the world's trying to tear you apart. Keisha's eyes stung. I don't know how to thank her. Thank any of you. You don't have to. That's not how this works. Titan put a heavy hand on her shoulder. You're one of us now. And we take care of our own. That night, Keisha put Zoe to bed and sat by the window watching the parking lot below. A few bikes were still there. Music drifted up from the clubhouse. Laughter. Voices. Life. She'd never had this before. Not really. The foster homes had been revolving doors. The group homes had been survival. Derek had been a prison disguised as love. But this felt different. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Keisha's blood went cold. She answered. Hello. Hey, baby. Derek's voice slithered through the phone like a snake. Miss me. Keisha's hand shook. How did you get this number? I told you, I know people. His tone was casual, almost friendly. How's my daughter? She's not your daughter. The law says different. In 17 days, a judge is going to say different too. You're not going to win. Derek laughed. You think those bikers can protect you? You think that lady lawyer is going to save you? His voice dropped. Cold. Dangerous. I know things, Keisha. Things about that club. Things that could put every single one of them behind bars. Keisha's stomach lurched. You're lying. Am I? She could hear his smile. Ask your friend Marcus about the warehouse fire in 2019. Ask him about the insurance money. He paused. Ask him what really happened to Carlos Vega's operation 3 years ago. You're making this up. Then why are you shaking? Keisha looked down. Her hand was trembling so hard the phone nearly slipped from her grip. 17 days, baby. That's all you have left. And when this is over, Zoe's coming home with me, where she belongs. The line went dead. Keisha sat frozen. Derek knew about the club. Knew things that sounded like leverage, like weapons. She should tell Marcus. But what if it was true? What if the people protecting her had secrets that could destroy them all? She didn't sleep that night. When morning came, she found Marcus in the clubhouse kitchen, drinking coffee and reading the paper, like the world wasn't falling apart. We need to talk, she said. Marcus looked up, saw her face, set down his cup. What happened? Derek called me last night. Marcus's expression hardened. How'd he get your number? I don't know, but that's not what scared me. Keisha sat down across from him. He said he knows things about the club, about you. What kind of things? A warehouse fire in 2019. Insurance money. Keisha watched his face carefully. Something about Carlos Vega. Marcus went still. He's lying. Marcus said it too fast, too flat. He's trying to scare you. Is he? The warehouse fire was an accident. Faulty wiring. Insurance paid out because that's what insurance does. And Vega, Marcus's jaw tightened. We helped the feds take down his operation 3 years ago. Anonymous tips, evidence we'd collected. Half his crew went to prison. So Derek's fishing. Derek's desperate. Marcus leaned forward. He's trying to shake you. Make you doubt the people protecting you. Don't let him. Is there anything to find? Marcus's eyes met hers. Every club has history, Keisha. Every person has things they're not proud of, but nothing that would hold up in court. Nothing that would change what's happening here. You're sure? I'm sure. But something flickered in his eyes. Something that looked almost like fear. Keisha wanted to believe him. She wasn't sure she did. 2 days later, Michelle called with news. We have a problem. Keisha's stomach dropped. What kind of problem? Derek filed a motion to expedite the hearing. Claims Zoe is in immediate danger living at the clubhouse. Michelle's voice was tight with anger. He submitted photographs. Photographs of what? You getting on Marcus's motorcycle, walking into the clubhouse, carrying Zoe past a row of Harleys. Michelle paused. He's been watching you, Keisha. He has someone following you. The world tilted. The judge granted the motion. The hearing is in 5 days. 5 days, Keisha's voice cracked. That's not enough time. I know. I'm filing an objection, but I don't think it'll work. Derek's lawyer is good, connected. He knows how to play the system. Keisha's legs gave out. She sank onto the couch phone, pressed to her ear, trying to remember how to breathe. There's something else, Michelle said quietly. What? Derek submitted a character affidavit from someone who claims to have witnessed you neglecting Zoe. That's impossible. I've never neglected her. The affidavit is from someone named Dorothy Coleman. Keisha's blood turned to ice. Mrs. Coleman, my neighbor, she signed it, Keisha. She signed a sworn statement saying she saw you leave Zoe alone in your apartment while you went out drinking. That's a lie. Keisha's voice rose. She loves Zoe. She helped me take care of her. I believe you, but we need to prove it. Michelle's voice hardened. Derek got to her somehow, paid her off, threatened her. Something. She's 83 years old. She can barely walk. What could he possibly? Then it hit her. Mrs. Coleman's grandson, Jerome. The one she always worried about. The one with gambling debts and dangerous friends. Derek had found her weakness, just like he always did. I need to talk to her, Keisha said. I need to find out what he did. Absolutely not. If you contact a witness before the hearing, it could be construed as intimidation. But, Keisha, listen to me. I know this is hard, but we have to play this smart. We have 5 days to build our case. Let me do my job. The line went dead. Keisha sat in the silence, feeling everything slip through her fingers. 5 days. That was all she had. Marcus found her an hour later, still sitting on the couch, still staring at nothing. Michelle called me, he said. Told me what happened. He's going to take her. Keisha's voice was hollow. He's going to take my baby. No, he's not. You don't know that. You don't know what he's capable of. I know what I'm capable of. Marcus sat down beside her, close but not touching, solid and warm. And I know what this club is capable of. Derek Mitchell thinks he can buy and bully his way to whatever he wants. He's about to find out different. How? Keisha looked at him. How can you stop him? Marcus was quiet for a moment. Something shifted in his expression. A decision being made. There's something I haven't told you, he said. About Derek. About his business. What? 3 years ago, his operation crossed paths with ours. He was connected to people we helped take down. We collected information during that time. Insurance in case things ever went sideways. Keisha's heart stopped. You have evidence against Derek. Enough to bury him. Then why haven't you used it? Because using it would expose how we got it. Marcus's voice dropped. There are things in those files that would implicate me too. Maybe others in the club. So we can't use it. I didn't say that. Marcus's eyes met hers. I said using it has consequences. Consequences I'm willing to accept. Marcus, you could go to prison. Maybe. He took her hand, squeezed it. But at least I'd know I did the right thing. For once in my miserable life, I'd know I did something that mattered. Tears streamed down Keisha's face. Why would you sacrifice everything for us? Marcus looked at her for a long moment. Because you gave me something I'd lost, he said. Hope. Purpose. A reason to be better than I was. He wiped a tear from her cheek. You saved me, Keisha, long before I ever saved you. Their eyes met. Something passed between them. Something neither of them was ready to name. The clubhouse door opened. Titan walked in. His face was grim. We've got a problem, he said. Derek's guy, the one following Keisha. He paused. We caught him. Marcus stood. Where is he? Downstairs. Tied to a chair. Titan's eyes were hard. And he's talking. A lot. They went downstairs. Keisha followed, despite Marcus telling her to stay. The man in the chair was young, late 20s, expensive clothes now torn and dirty, a camera around his neck, terror in his eyes. Please, he gasped. I was just doing a job, following orders. Titan stood over him like a mountain. Whose orders? Derek Mitchell. He hired me through a PI firm, said he needed surveillance on his ex. What else did he hire you to do? The man hesitated. Titan's fist connected with his jaw. I asked you a question. Okay. Blood dripped from the man's lip. He wanted dirt on the club, on your businesses, on anything he could use. Did you find anything? No, nothing illegal, I swear. You're all clean. Marcus stepped forward. What about the old woman, Dorothy Coleman? Did Derek send someone to her? The man's face paled. I don't know anything about that. You're lying. I'm not, I just do surveillance. I don't know about any old woman. Marcus grabbed him by the collar. Then who does? There's another guy. The man's voice shook. Derek has another guy who handles the persuasion stuff. Name's Vega. Carlos Vega. Marcus's blood ran cold. Carlos Vega. The man whose operation they'd helped destroy 3 years ago. The man who'd sworn revenge on everyone involved. Where is he? Marcus demanded. I don't know, I swear. We've never met face to face. Marcus let him go, stepped back, looked at Titan. Vega's bad news, Titan said quietly. He's connected. Cartel money. Dirty cops. I know. If he's involved in this, it's bigger than a custody case. I know. Keisha's voice cut through the tension. Who is Carlos Vega? Neither man answered. Tell me. Her voice hardened. If my daughter is in danger, I deserve to know. Marcus turned to face her. His expression was the hardest she'd ever seen. Vega is a fixer. He makes problems disappear. Witnesses. Evidence. People. His voice dropped. 3 years ago, he worked for a drug ring we helped shut down. Half his guys went to prison. He swore revenge on everyone involved. Including you, including me. Keisha's knees buckled. Titan caught her before she hit the floor. This isn't just about custody anymore, she whispered. Derek didn't hire Vega to help him win in court. No, Marcus said. He didn't. Then what does he want? Marcus's eyes were dark with something she'd never seen before. Fear. He wants to destroy us, all of us, and he's using you to do it. Keisha couldn't stop shaking. Zoe was asleep in her arms, safe, warm, oblivious to the war being waged around her. But for how long Marcus paced the apartment like a caged animal, back and forth, his boots heavy on the wooden floor. We need to move, he said. Tonight. Somewhere Vega can't find you. Where? Keisha's voice was hollow. Where can I go that he won't find me? Derek found me 3 states away. He found me with a different name. He found me with nothing but cash and prayers. This is different. How is this different? Marcus stopped pacing, turned to face her. Because this time you're not alone. The words hung in the air between them. Keisha wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that these people, this family she'd stumbled into, could protect her from the monster she'd spent 2 years running from. But Derek had Carlos Vega now, and Vega made people disappear. The clubhouse door slammed open downstairs. Heavy footsteps. Voices. Urgent. Marcus grabbed his gun from the table. Stay here. Marcus, stay here! He was gone before she could argue. Keisha held Zoe tighter, listened to the muffled voices below, tried to make out words. Couldn't. Minutes passed like hours. Then footsteps on the stairs. Multiple sets. Coming fast. Keisha's heart stopped. The door opened. Marcus stood there. Behind him, a woman she'd never seen before. Late 50s. Silver-streaked hair. The kind of face that had once turned heads everywhere she went. But her eyes were red-rimmed, and she moved like someone carrying a weight too heavy for her shoulders. Keisha, Marcus said. This is Lorraine, my ex-wife. Keisha's breath caught. Your what? We don't have time for explanations. Lorraine pushed past Marcus into the apartment. Her eyes traveled over Keisha's face down to Zoe, back up again. So you're the one he's been protecting. I didn't ask for... I know you didn't. Lorraine cut her off. Marcus told me everything, about the pharmacy, About your ex, about all of it. Then you know I'm not trying to replace. Stop! Lorraine held up her hand. I didn't come here to fight with you. I came because Marcus asked me to. Keisha looked at Marcus. You called her. I needed to. His voice was heavy. There are things about Derek that Lorraine knows. Things that might help. Lorraine pulled out a chair and sat down. Her movements were slow. Deliberate. Like every action cost her something. Before Jasmine died, she said, she was dating someone. A man who seemed perfect at first. Charming. Successful. Attentive. Keisha's blood went cold. Derek, no, but the same type. Lorraine's eyes found hers. I didn't see the signs. I thought she was happy. By the time I realized what was really going on, it was too late. What happened? He hit her. Once. She left him that same night. Lorraine's voice cracked. But she didn't tell us. Didn't tell anyone. She thought she could handle it alone. Marcus put a hand on Lorraine's shoulder. She didn't shake it off. A month later she was dead, Lorraine continued. The accident wasn't random. The drunk driver who hit her, he worked for the man she'd been dating. The police couldn't prove anything, but we knew. Keisha couldn't breathe. You think he had her killed? I think powerful men don't like being rejected. Lorraine wiped her eyes. I think my daughter died because she tried to leave someone who couldn't accept losing. The words hung in the air like smoke. That's why I'm here, Lorraine said. When Marcus told me about you, about what you're running from, I couldn't stay away. I couldn't let another young mother face this alone. You don't owe me anything. No, but I owe Jasmine. Lorraine reached out and touched Zoe's cheek. The baby stirred, but didn't wake. I couldn't save my daughter, but maybe I can help save yours. Keisha felt tears building behind her eyes. Thank you, she whispered. Lorraine shook her head. Don't thank me yet. I haven't told you the useful part. What useful part? I kept records. Lorraine's voice hardened. After Jasmine died, I became obsessed with men like the one who hurt her. Men like your Derek. She pulled a folder from her bag. 6 months ago, I found a connection. Derek Mitchell was doing business with the same network that destroyed my daughter. Marcus stepped forward. What kind of business? Money laundering. Drug trafficking. Lorraine opened the folder. And something else. There's a woman, a federal prosecutor named Rebecca Torres. She's been building a case against Derek's network for 2 years. She's close. Very close. Marcus's eyes narrowed. How do you know this? Because I reached out to her after Jasmine died. Lorraine's voice hardened. I told her everything I knew. She couldn't use most of it, but she believed me, and she's been feeding me information ever since. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were drowning in whiskey and self-pity. Lorraine met his eyes without flinching. And because I wasn't sure I could trust you to be useful. But now you've got something worth fighting for. She looked at Keisha and Zoe. And so do I. Titan appeared in the doorway. This changes everything, he said. If we can connect with this prosecutor, give her what we have on Derek. It's not that simple. Lorraine cut him off. Rebecca can't know about the club's involvement. If she finds out you're connected to this, it compromises her whole case. Then how do we use this carefully? Lorraine pulled another document from the folder. Derek's custody hearing is in 4 days. If he wins, he takes Zoe. If he loses, he'll disappear. Go somewhere the feds can't reach him. So we have to make sure he loses, Keisha said. Yes, but more than that. Lorraine's eyes were hard. We have to make sure he can't run, which means we need to coordinate with Rebecca. Time everything perfectly. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. This is getting complicated. It's been complicated since the moment Keisha walked into that pharmacy. Lorraine stood up. I need to make some calls, see if I can set up a meeting with Rebecca. She walked toward the door, then stopped. Marcus? Yeah, I'm sorry for what I said after Jasmine died, for blaming you. Her voice wavered. I was wrong. You're a good man. You always were. Marcus didn't respond, but Keisha saw something shift in his face, something that had been frozen for 3 years beginning to thaw. Lorraine left. The room exhaled. Well, Titan said. That was unexpected. Tell me about it. Marcus sank into a chair. I haven't seen her in 2 years. Thought she hated me. Maybe she did. Titan shrugged. People change. Keisha sat down next to Marcus. Zoe was still asleep in her arms. She's right, you know, Keisha said quietly. About you being a good man. Marcus shook his head. I'm not. You are. Keisha cut him off. You just don't see it yet. Their eyes met. Something passed between them. Something neither of them was ready to name. The next morning, everything changed. It started with a phone call at 6 a.m. Michelle's voice was sharp with panic. They moved the hearing. Keisha sat up in bed, heart pounding. What? Derek's lawyers filed an emergency motion last night. The judge granted it. Michelle took a breath. The hearing is tomorrow, Keisha, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. That's impossible. We're not ready. I know. That's why I'm calling. Michelle paused. There's something else. What? Derek submitted new evidence, a recording. Keisha's blood turned to ice. What recording? A conversation between you and Marcus. Derek's claiming it proves you've been conspiring with criminals to keep Zoe away from her father. The room spun. He was recording us. Someone was. My guess is the PI, or Vega's people. Michelle's voice tightened. Keisha, I need you to tell me exactly what was said in every conversation you've had with Marcus. Every word. Keisha tried to think, tried to remember, but her mind was a hurricane of terror. I don't know. We talked about the custody case, about my past, about Derek being dangerous. Did Marcus ever mention doing anything illegal to protect you? No. I mean, he said he had evidence against Derek, but he didn't say how he got it. Michelle cursed. That's probably enough. If Derek's lawyers can frame that as conspiracy to obstruct justice, we weren't conspiring. We were trying to protect Zoe. I know that. But perception matters. And right now the perception is that you moved in with a motorcycle gang and started plotting against your child's father. Keisha wanted to scream, wanted to break something, wanted to go back in time and never walk into that pharmacy, but she couldn't do any of those things. What do? We fight. Michelle's voice steadied. Get Marcus. Get everyone. We're having a war council of our own. An hour later, Michelle arrived at the clubhouse. The main room was packed. Titan, Marcus, Mama June, Lorraine, a dozen other club members and their wives, all of them ready to fight. Michelle spread her files across the table. Here's where we stand. Derek has money, connections, a recording that makes Keisha look like she's conspiring with criminals. The judge is already sympathetic to his claims about Zoe being in danger. What do we have? Titan asked. Character witnesses. Documentation of Keisha's parenting. Michelle looked at Marcus. And evidence of Derek's criminal activity. If we can use it. Use it, Marcus said. All of it. Marcus, Michelle's voice sharpened. I told you, if we use that evidence, it exposes how you obtained it. You could go to prison. I don't care. You should care. Michelle leaned forward. If you go to prison, who protects Keisha? Who protects Zoe? You think Derek's just going to forget about the club once he has custody? She's right. Titan's voice was heavy. We need you out here, brother, not behind bars. Then what do you suggest? Marcus's frustration boiled over. We just let him take her. No. A new voice cut through the argument. Everyone turned. Lorraine stood in the doorway, phone in hand. I just got off the phone with Rebecca Torres, she said, the federal prosecutor. Michelle's eyes widened. She's willing to meet tonight. Lorraine walked to the table. She's been building a case against Derek for 18 months. She's close to an indictment, but she needs one more thing. What? A witness? Lorraine's eyes found Keisha. Someone inside Derek's operation who's willing to testify. Every head turned. Keisha's heart stopped. Me. You lived with him for almost a year. You saw things, heard things, even if you didn't understand what they meant at the time. I didn't know anything about his business. Are you sure? Lorraine pressed. Think Keisha, late-night phone calls, visitors at strange hours, places he told you to never look. Keisha closed her eyes, tried to remember. The memories were painful, tangled with fear and shame, but they were there. There was a room, she said slowly. In the basement. He kept it locked, told me it was for business records. Did you ever see inside? Once, by accident. He didn't know I was home. Keisha's voice trembled. There were files, equipment, phones, computers, things I didn't understand. Michelle scribbled notes. Could you identify anything specific? I don't know, maybe. Keisha opened her eyes. I was scared. I didn't look closely. But you could describe the room, the setup. Yes. That might be enough. Michelle looked at Lorraine. Can you get us a meeting with Torres tonight? Already done. 8 o'clock, downtown. Titan shook his head. This is moving too fast. We don't know if we can trust this prosecutor. We don't have a choice. Marcus stood up. The hearing is tomorrow. If we don't do something drastic, Keisha loses Zoe forever. And if this goes wrong, we all go down. Then we go down fighting. Marcus looked around the room. That's what this club has always done. We protect our own, no matter the cost. Silence fell. Then Titan nodded slowly. All right. We do this your way, he pointed at Marcus. But if this blows up in our faces, you're buying drinks for the rest of your life. Despite everything, Marcus almost smiled. Deal. The meeting with Rebecca Torres happened in a parking garage downtown. Neutral territory. No witnesses. Marcus drove Keisha in a truck instead of his bike. Less conspicuous. Harder to follow. Lorraine met them at the entrance. She's on the 3rd level, alone, like she promised. You trust her? Marcus asked. With my life. Lorraine's eyes were steady. She's the only person who believed me about Jasmine. She's been fighting for justice longer than any of us. They walked up the ramp together. Rebecca Torres was waiting. Late 30s. Sharp suit. Eyes that missed nothing. You must be Keisha. She didn't offer her hand. Lorraine told me about your situation. She told me about yours too. Then you know I've been chasing Derek Mitchell for a long time. Rebecca pushed off the pillar she'd been leaning against. He's slippery, smart, knows how to cover his tracks. I've been building a case for 18 months and I'm still missing pieces. What kind of pieces? Physical evidence of his operation. Witness testimony about his methods. Rebecca studied Keisha's face. Lorraine thinks you can help with both. I don't know what I can offer. Tell me about the room, the one in the basement. Keisha took a breath and described what she'd seen. The locked door, the files, the electronic equipment. Rebecca listened without interrupting. That sounds like a communications hub, she said when Keisha finished. Derek uses burner phones to coordinate with his suppliers. If we could get access to that room, It's his property, Marcus cut in. We can't just walk in. No, but we might not have to. Rebecca's eyes narrowed. The custody hearing is tomorrow. If Derek thinks he's going to win, he'll be focused on that, not on his operation. You want to raid him while he's in court? I want to execute a search warrant that I've been sitting on for 6 months. Rebecca smiled thinly. The timing would be convenient. What do you need from us? Keisha asked. Your testimony. A sworn statement describing what you saw in that room. It won't be enough for a conviction on its own, but combined with what I already have, it'll give me probable cause for the warrant. And the custody hearing, that's Michelle Ford's problem. Rebecca's tone softened slightly. But I can tell you this. If Derek is arrested before the judge makes a decision, the whole case falls apart. No father, no custody dispute. Keisha's heart raced. You could arrest him tomorrow. If everything goes right... Rebecca paused. But I need you to understand the risks. If Derek finds out what we're planning, he runs, disappears, takes his operation underground, starts again somewhere else. He won't find out. Marcus stepped forward. We'll make sure of it. Rebecca looked at him. Really looked. You're Marcus Thompson, the one Lorraine told me about. Yes. She says you have evidence, things that could help my case. Marcus hesitated, looked at Keisha, then back at Rebecca. I have documentation of Derek's connections to Carlos Vega, financial records, communications, enough to prove they've been working together. How did you obtain this documentation? Does it matter? It matters to a judge. Rebecca crossed her arms. If the evidence was obtained illegally, I can't use it. Then don't use it in court. Marcus's voice hardened. Use it to know where to look, what questions to ask. I'll give you the roadmap. You find your own evidence. Rebecca considered this. That could work, she paused. But there's something else. What? Vega is planning something. We don't know what yet, but he's been gathering muscle, preparing for something big. Related to Derek. Related to you. Rebecca's expression darkened. We've been tracking his communications. He knows you helped take down his operation 3 years ago. He's been waiting for payback. Marcus's jaw tightened. So this isn't just about custody. It's about everything. Rebecca's voice dropped. Derek wants Zoe. Vega wants blood. And you're standing in the middle of both. Keisha grabbed Marcus's arm. We have to warn the others. We will. Marcus covered her hand with his. But first we finish this. He looked at Rebecca. What do you need? Keisha's statement, tonight. Everything she remembers about that room. Rebecca pulled a recorder from her pocket. And Marcus, I need your files. All of them. You'll have them? Good. Rebecca checked her watch. The warrant team will be in position by 8 tomorrow morning. The hearing starts at 9. If everything goes according to plan, Derek Mitchell will be in handcuffs before lunch. And if it doesn't, Rebecca's eyes were cold. Then we all lose. They drove back to the clubhouse in silence. Keisha's mind raced. Tomorrow. Everything happened tomorrow. The hearing, the raid, the end of everything or the beginning of something new. Marcus's phone buzzed. He answered. Listened. His face went pale. When? His voice was sharp. How many? Keisha's heart stopped. What is it? Marcus ended the call. His hands were shaking. Vega's men. They hit the auto shop. 20 minutes ago. Was anyone... Diesel's in the hospital. Wrench, too. Marcus's voice cracked. They beat them half to death. Left a message. What message? Marcus looked at her. His eyes were filled with something she'd never seen before. Terror. He said this is just the beginning. He said tomorrow everyone pays. Keisha's blood turned to ice. Zoe. Where's Zoe? With Mama June, at the clubhouse. We have to go. We have to go right now. Marcus floored the accelerator. The truck roared through the night, toward the clubhouse, toward Zoe, toward whatever was waiting for them. And somewhere in the darkness, Carlos Vega smiled. The game was just getting started. The truck skidded to a stop outside the clubhouse. Marcus was out before the engine died. Keisha right behind him. The front door hung open. Broken. Splintered wood everywhere. "Zoe!" Keisha screamed. "Zoe!" She ran inside. The main room was destroyed. Tables overturned. Chairs smashed. Glass everywhere. But no bodies. No blood. "Mama June!" Marcus's voice echoed through the building. Titan, silence, then footsteps, from the back, coming fast. Marcus raised his gun. Titan emerged from the shadows. His face was bloody, his shirt torn, but he was alive. "They're gone," Titan said. His voice was hoarse. "Vega's men. 6 of them. Hit us 20 minutes ago." "Where's Mama June?" Marcus demanded. "Where's Zoe?" "Safe room. Basement." Titan wiped blood from his eye. "I got them down there before the worst of it." Keisha's legs gave out. She didn't fall. Marcus caught her, held her up. "She's okay," he said. "Zoe's okay." "I need to see her," Keisha's voice cracked. "I need to see her right now." They went to the basement. The safe room door was solid steel. Titan punched in a code. The lock clicked open. Mama June sat in the corner, Zoe clutched to her chest. The baby was crying. Mama June was crying too. "Oh, thank God." Mama June looked up. "Thank God you're here." Keisha ran to them, took Zoe from Mama June's arms, held her so tight the baby squealed. "I'm here, sweet girl. Mama's here. You're safe. You're safe." But she wasn't safe. None of them were. "What happened?" Marcus knelt beside Mama June. "Tell me everything." "They came out of nowhere." Mama June's voice shook. 6 men. Masks, guns. They didn't say anything, just started destroying everything. "Did they hurt you?" "No. They didn't touch me or the baby, just—" She swallowed. "Just made sure I was watching. Made sure I saw everything." "A message," Titan said grimly. "Vega wanted us to know he could get to us anytime he wanted." Marcus stood up. His jaw was tight. His eyes were dark. "Where's Lorraine?" "She left an hour ago. Said she had calls to make." "Call her, now. Tell her what happened." Titan pulled out his phone. Marcus turned to Keisha. "We need to move. All of us. Tonight." "Where?" Keisha's voice was hollow. "Where can we go?" "I have a place. Outside the city. Off the grid." Marcus paused. "My brother's cabin. Nobody knows about it. Not even the club." "You have a brother?" "Had." Marcus's voice cracked. "He died 8 years ago. Cancer. Left me the cabin in his will. I've never told anyone." Keisha stared at him. "Why not?" "Because some things you keep for emergencies." His eyes met hers. "This is an emergency." They moved within the hour. Mama June, Zoe, Keisha, Marcus, 2 other club members for protection. The cabin was 3 hours north, deep in the woods. No neighbors, no cell service, no way for Vega to find them. At least that's what Marcus hoped. They arrived at midnight. Keisha put Zoe to bed in the small bedroom. The baby was exhausted. Cried herself to sleep within minutes. When Keisha came back out, Marcus was standing by the window, staring into the darkness. "The hearing is in 8 hours, Keisha said quietly. "What do we do?" "We go." "Are you crazy?" Keisha's voice rose. "Vega just attacked the clubhouse. He knows we're coming. He'll be waiting." "That's what he wants." Marcus turned to face her. "He wants us to hide. To run. to let Derek win by default. And if we don't, if we show up tomorrow, then we fight. Marcus's voice hardened. On our terms, not his. You could die. I could die any day. He stepped closer. But if I don't show up tomorrow, you lose Zoe. Forever. And that's not something I can live with. Keisha's eyes filled with tears. Why do you care so much about me? About Zoe? We're strangers. We've known each other for 2 weeks. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. You're not strangers, he finally said. You're family. The only family I have left. He reached out, touched her face. When Jasmine died, I thought my life was over. I spent 3 years hoping it would end, hoping I'd crash the bike, hoping someone would put a bullet in me. His voice broke. Then I saw you in that pharmacy, fighting for your baby with nothing but courage and desperation. Keisha couldn't breathe. You reminded me what it means to be alive, what it means to have something worth fighting for. Marcus's eyes were wet. I'm not going to let anyone take that away. Not Derek, not Vega, not anyone. Marcus, I love you, Keisha. The words hung in the air. I know it's crazy. I know we barely know each other. I know I'm too old and too broken and too... Keisha kissed him. Not planned. Not perfect. Just sudden and real, and everything she didn't know she needed. When she pulled back, Marcus looked stunned. I love you too, she whispered. I don't know how. I don't know why. But I do. Marcus pulled her close, held her like she might disappear. Whatever happens tomorrow, he said against her hair, we face it together. Together, Keisha repeated. Outside the wind howled through the trees, but inside for just a moment everything was still. The morning came too fast. Keisha woke at 5. Couldn't sleep anymore. Couldn't stop thinking about what was coming. Marcus was already up, already dressed, already loading weapons. You don't have to bring those, Keisha said. Yes, I do. Marcus didn't look up. Vega's men will be there. Somewhere. Watching. Waiting. In a courthouse. You think the law stops men like Vega? Marcus finally met her eyes. He has cops on his payroll, security guards, judges. He can get to anyone anywhere. Keisha's stomach turned. Then how do we win? We don't give him a target. Marcus holstered his gun. We stay in public, stay visible, make sure there are witnesses everywhere. And if that's not enough, then we improvise. They left the cabin at 6. Mama June stayed behind with Zoe, 2 club members guarding the property, armed, alert, ready for anything. You bring my baby back, Mama June said, hugging Keisha at the door. You hear me? You bring her back. I will, Keisha's voice cracked. I promise. The drive to the courthouse took 2 hours. Keisha watched the road, watched every car that passed, watched every shadow. You're shaking, Marcus said. I'm terrified. Good. That means you're taking it seriously. What if we lose? Marcus didn't answer right away. When he spoke, his voice was steady. We won't. You can't know that. No. He reached over, took her hand. But I know we're going to fight like hell. And sometimes that's enough. They arrived at this courthouse at 8:30. Michelle was waiting on the steps. Her face was grim. Rebecca's team is in position, she said quietly. The warrant's been signed. They're hitting Derek's property at 9:15, right after the hearing starts. What if they don't find anything? They'll find something. Your statement gave them everything they need. Michelle paused. Now we just have to buy time. How long? An hour, maybe 2. Michelle looked at Zoe's empty car seat. Where's the baby? Safe. Hidden. Vega's men hit the clubhouse last night. Michelle's face went pale. Is everyone alive for now? Marcus's jaw tightened. But Vega knows we're coming. He'll have people inside. Then we watch each other's backs. Michelle squared her shoulders. Let's go. They walked inside together. The courtroom was smaller than Keisha expected. Ordinary. Boring. Not the kind of place where lives were destroyed. Derek was already there. He sat at the plaintiff's table. 2 lawyers beside him. His hair was perfect. His tie was straight. He smiled when he saw Keisha. The same smile that had charmed her once. The same smile that hid the monster underneath. Keisha. He said her name like they were old friends. You look tired. Long night. Don't talk to me. I'm just concerned about you. About our daughter. He glanced at the empty seat beside her. Where is Zoe? I was hoping to see her. You'll never see her again. Derek's smile flickered. Just for a second. We'll see about that. The gallery filled up behind them. Titan. Mama June's sister. 6 club members who'd driven through the night. All of them there for Keisha. And in the back row, 3 men Keisha didn't recognize. They wore suits. Sat too still. Watched everything with cold, empty eyes. Vega's men. Marcus saw them too. His hand moved toward his hip. Not here, Keisha whispered. Not now. I know. But his jaw was tight. Just be ready. The bailiff called the court to order. All rise for the Honorable Judge Patricia Coleman. Everyone stood. The judge entered. Late 50s. Gray hair. Reading glasses. She sat down and surveyed the courtroom like a general assessing a battlefield. Be seated. She opened a folder. We're here today in the matter of Mitchell versus Williams. Petition for custody of the minor child Zoe Williams. She looked at Derek's lawyer. Mr. Davidson, you may begin. Derek's lead lawyer stood up. Tall, silver-haired, the kind of man who'd never lost a case because he'd never fought one he couldn't win. Thank you, Your Honor. My client, Derek Mitchell, is a successful businessman, a pillar of his community, a devoted father who wants nothing more than to be part of his daughter's life. Keisha's fist clenched under the table. Unfortunately, Davidson continued, the respondent, Ms. Williams, has made that impossible. She fled the state with the child nearly a year ago, denied Mr. Mitchell any contact with his daughter, and has since taken up residence with members of a notorious motorcycle gang, exposing the child to an environment of criminal activity and potential danger. Objection. Michelle stood. Characterizing the Hells Angels as a notorious gang is prejudicial and inflammatory. Sustained. Judge Coleman fixed Davidson with a hard look. Keep the rhetoric in check, counselor. My apologies, Your Honor. Davidson didn't look sorry at all. Let me rephrase. Ms. Williams has chosen to live with individuals who have documented criminal histories. We have evidence that the child has been regularly exposed to these individuals. Michelle stood again. Your Honor, I'd like to see this so-called evidence. In due time, counselor, Davidson smiled. For now, I'd like to call our first witness, Mrs. Dorothy Coleman. Keisha's heart stopped. The door at the back of the courtroom opened. Mrs. Coleman walked in. Tiny, frail, 83 years old. Moving like every step hurt. She didn't look at Keisha as she made her way to the witness stand. Mrs. Coleman. Davidson's voice was gentle. Thank you for being here today. I know this isn't easy for you. No. Mrs. Coleman's voice was barely audible. It isn't. Can you tell the court your relationship with Ms. Williams? I was her neighbor, back in Ohio. I helped take care of Zoe sometimes, when Keisha had to work. And during that time, did you ever witness anything that concerned you about Ms. Williams's parenting? Mrs. Coleman hesitated. Keisha stared at her, willing her to look up, to make eye contact, to remember all the times she'd trusted her with Zoe, all the times she'd called her a godsend. Mrs. Coleman, Davidson prompted. I saw some things. What kind of things? One time. The old woman's hands trembled. One time I went to check on them and found Zoe alone in the apartment. Keisha wasn't there. The gallery murmured. Keisha's mouth fell open. That's not true. Ms. Williams. Judge Coleman's voice was sharp. You will remain silent until it's your turn to speak. Michelle grabbed Keisha's arm. Don't. Not now. On the stand, Mrs. Coleman continued, her voice growing steadier, rehearsed. There were other times, too. I heard yelling from their apartment, saw Keisha come home late, smelling like alcohol. She paused. I was worried about Zoe. I tried to talk to Keisha about it, but she got angry, defensive. And is that why you contacted my client out of concern for Zoe's welfare? Yes. Mrs. Coleman finally looked at Keisha. Her eyes were wet, apologetic, terrified. I'm sorry. I just want what's best for the baby. Something clicked in Keisha's mind. Mrs. Coleman wasn't lying because she wanted to. She was lying because she had to. Derek had something on her, her grandson, Jerome, the gambling debts, the dangerous friends. Nathan had found her weakness, just like he always did. Thank you, Mrs. Coleman. Davidson returned to his seat. No further questions. Michelle stood. Your Honor, I'd like to cross-examine the witness. Proceed. Michelle approached the stand slowly, her voice gentle, non-threatening. Mrs. Coleman, how long did you know Keisha Williams? About 8 months. And in those 8 months, did you ever see her hit Zoe, neglect her, do anything to physically harm her daughter? I know. Not physically. Did Zoe ever appear malnourished, dirty, injured? No. Did Keisha ever ask you to lie about anything, cover up anything? No. So the concerns you mentioned, the alleged absences, the yelling, the alcohol, these were isolated incidents. Mrs. Coleman hesitated. I suppose. Mrs. Coleman, Michelle's voice sharpened. Is there anything you'd like to add to your testimony? Anything you might have forgotten to mention? The old woman's face crumpled. I can't, she whispered. I can't say anything else. They said if I talked, my grandson would... She stopped, looked at Derek. Terror flooded her eyes. The courtroom erupted. Order, Judge Coleman banged her gavel. Order in the court, Davidson shot to his feet. Your Honor, the witness is clearly confused. I move to strike her last statement from the record. Denied. Judge Coleman leaned forward. Mrs. Coleman, what did you mean by that statement? Who told you not to talk? Mrs. Coleman started crying. I can't, they'll hurt him. They said they'd hurt my Jerome. Michelle pressed forward. Your Honor, I believe this witness has been coerced into providing false testimony. I request a brief recess to... There's no need for a recess. Davidson's voice was calm. Too calm. Mrs. Coleman is obviously overwhelmed. Perhaps we should move on to our next witness. Your Honor, Michelle started. I'll allow it. Judge Coleman looked troubled, but nodded. The witness is excused. Mr. Davidson, call your next witness. Mrs. Coleman practically ran from the courtroom, still crying. Keisha watched her go, heart breaking for both of them. We call Mr. Derek Mitchell to the stand. Derek stood, buttoned his jacket, walked to the witness stand like he was accepting an award. Mr. Mitchell? Davidson smiled. Tell us about your relationship with Keisha Williams. We met 3 years ago. I thought she was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen. Derek's voice was warm, sincere, completely convincing. We dated for about 8 months before she got pregnant. I was thrilled. I'd always wanted to be a father. And what happened after Zoe was born? Things changed. Derek's face fell, perfectly rehearsed. Keisha became distant, paranoid. She accused me of things I'd never done, started talking about people following her. I was worried about her mental state. Did you ever harm Ms. Williams? Never. Derek looked directly at Keisha. I loved her. I still love her. All I've ever wanted is to be a family. Keisha felt sick. Then why do you think she left? I honestly don't know. Derek shook his head sadly. One day I came home from work and they were gone. No note, no explanation. I spent months looking for them. When I finally found them, Keisha was living with... He glanced at the gallery. Those people. I knew I had to act. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Davidson sat down. Your witness, Ms. Ford. Michelle stood slowly. Mr. Mitchell, you said you never harmed Ms. Williams. Is that correct? That's correct. Then can you explain this? Michelle pulled a photograph from her folder, handed it to the bailiff. Your Honor, I'd like to submit this as Defense Exhibit A, a photograph of Ms. Williams taken at St. Mary's Hospital in Cleveland, Ohio, approximately 10 months ago. The photograph appeared on the courtroom screen. Keisha at 24, face swollen, black eye, split lip, bruises covering her neck. The gallery gasped. Derek's smile flickered. That photograph is misleading. Keisha was in a car accident. I had nothing to do with a car accident. Michelle pulled another document. Then perhaps you can explain why the hospital's intake report lists her injuries as consistent with physical assault, and notes that she refused to identify her attacker. She was confused, traumatized by the accident. There was no accident, Mr. Mitchell. Michelle's voice hardened. There's no police report, no insurance claim, no record of any vehicle damage. I don't know what to tell you. I wasn't there. No. Michelle pulled another document. Then where were you on the night of March 15th last year? Derek hesitated. Let me refresh your memory. Michelle's voice was ice. According to phone records obtained by subpoena, you were at your residence, the same residence where Ms. Williams was living at the time, the same residence she left the following morning, never to return. This is speculation. Is it? Michelle held up another photograph. This is a photo of your living room from March 16th, taken by a crime scene cleanup company you hired. Note the bloodstains on the carpet, the broken glass, the hole in the wall. The courtroom exploded. Order, Judge Coleman's gavel cracked like gunfire. Order, Davidson jumped up. Your Honor, this evidence was not disclosed in discovery. I move to... The evidence was obtained 2 days ago, Michelle interrupted. I filed an emergency motion to include it. Your Honor approved it yesterday. Judge Coleman nodded. I did. Overruled Mr. Davidson. Continue, Ms. Ford. Derek's perfect composure was cracking. This is a setup, he hissed. She's working with those criminals to frame me. Mr. Mitchell. Michelle's voice was steel. Did you or did you not beat Keisha Williams so severely that she required emergency medical treatment? I never... Did you or did you not threaten to kill her if she ever tried to leave? That's a lie. Did you or did you not hire Carlos Vega to intimidate witnesses and destroy evidence in this case? Derek's face went white. I don't know anyone named... The courtroom doors burst open. 6 federal agents in tactical gear stormed in, weapons drawn. Nobody move, FBI. Chaos erupted. People screamed. Dove for cover. The gallery turned into a stampede of terrified bodies. Keisha grabbed the table, held on, watched everything she'd fought for come crashing down around her. Derek Mitchell. The lead agent's voice cut through the noise. You're under arrest for drug trafficking, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit murder. Derek tried to run. 2 agents tackled him before he made it 3 steps. This is a mistake, Derek screamed as they pinned him to the floor. I have rights. I want my lawyer. You'll get your lawyer at the federal building. The lead agent hauled him up, slapped cuffs on his wrists, along with a very long list of charges. Keisha couldn't breathe. It was happening. It was actually happening. Then the agent turned toward the gallery. Marcus Thompson. William Santos. His voice was flat, official. You're also under arrest for obstruction of justice and conspiracy. Keisha's heart stopped. No. She tried to push forward, but Michelle held her back. They didn't do anything. They were protecting me. Marcus locked eyes with her across the courtroom. It's okay, he mouthed. Take care of Zoe. Then the agents were on him, on Titan, cuffing them, dragging them toward the door. Marcus! Keisha screamed, but he was already gone. The courtroom was in shambles. Judge Coleman was shouting for order. Lawyers were arguing. Federal agents were everywhere, seizing documents, taking photographs, asking questions nobody could answer. Michelle grabbed Keisha's arm. We need to go, now. I can't leave Marcus. Marcus knew this might happen. He accepted the risk. Michelle's eyes were hard. Right now, I need to get you somewhere safe, before Derek's people figure out what's going on. His people. Vega is still out there. Michelle pulled her toward the door. And he's going to be very angry when he finds out his meal ticket just got arrested. They were outside the courtroom when a social worker stopped them. Ms. Williams. The woman was young, official-looking, clipboard in hand. I'm from Child Protective Services. Keisha's blood ran cold. What do you want? Given the circumstances of today's hearing, the federal intervention, the arrests of the individuals providing your current residence, I'm required to conduct an emergency welfare check. Zoe is fine. She's safe. I'm sure she is. The social worker's face was sympathetic, but firm. But protocol requires me to place the child in temporary protective custody until we can verify that her living situation is safe. No. Keisha backed away. No, you're not taking her. Ms. Williams, please. This doesn't have to be difficult. You can't do this. The hearing isn't over. The judge hasn't ruled. The judge has recessed the hearing indefinitely due to the federal intervention. Until a new hearing can be scheduled, the child's welfare is my responsibility. The social worker pulled out a form. I need you to tell me where Zoe is currently located. Keisha's mind raced. If she told them, they'd take Zoe. If she didn't, they'd get a warrant. Search everywhere. Find her anyway. Either way, she lost. Ms. Williams. The social worker's voice hardened. I can get a court order. I can involve the police. But I'd rather not. Please, just tell me where your daughter is. Keisha looked at Michelle. Michelle's face was pale. Defeated. Tell her, Michelle whispered. If you don't cooperate, it'll be worse. Keisha's legs gave out. She would have fallen if Michelle hadn't caught her. The cabin, Keisha whispered. She's at a cabin. 3 hours north. The social worker wrote down the address. Thank you. An officer will meet us there. You can follow in your own vehicle. I'm coming with you. That's not... I'm coming with you. Keisha's voice cracked. You're not taking my daughter without me." They drove in convoy. 3 hours of silence. 3 hours of terror. 3 hours of watching the road blur through tears. When they arrived at the cabin, Mama June was waiting on the porch. Zoe in her arms. She saw the social worker's car, saw the police cruiser behind it. Her face crumpled. "No," she whispered. "No, no, no." The social worker approached. "I'm here for the child." "You can't take her." Mama June clutched Zoe tighter. "She belongs with her mother." "Ma'am, I have a court order." "I don't care about your order." Mama June's voice rose. "This baby needs her mama." "Ma'am, please don't make this difficult." The officer stepped forward. Mama June looked at Keisha, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." She handed Zoe to the social worker. Zoe started screaming. The sound was inhuman, primal, the sound of a child being separated from everything she'd ever known. "Mama, Mama, I'm here, baby." Keisha tried to run to her. The officer held her back. "Mama's right here. Mama, Mama." The social worker walked to her car, put Zoe in a car seat, closed the door. The screaming didn't stop. "No!" Keisha fought against the officer's grip. "No, give her back. Give me my baby. Ms. Williams, please calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. That's my daughter. That's my baby." The social worker's car pulled away. Keisha watched it go, watched her daughter disappear down the road. Her legs gave out. She hit the ground, and she screamed. 3 days, 72 hours, without Zoe. Keisha didn't sleep, couldn't eat. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard her daughter screaming for her. Every time she tried to swallow food, it turned to ash in her mouth. Mama June stayed with her at the cabin, held her when she cried, made her drink water when she forgot how to take care of herself. "She's coming back," Mama June said over and over. "We're going to get her back." But the words felt hollow, empty, like prayers that would never be answered. Michelle called every few hours with updates that weren't really updates. The emergency hearing was scheduled. The foster family was reputable. Zoe was being well cared for. None of it mattered. Zoe wasn't with her mother. That was all Keisha could think about. On the second day, news came about Marcus. "The obstruction charges aren't going to stick," Michelle said over the phone. Her voice was cautiously optimistic. Rebecca Torres advocated for his release. The evidence he provided against Derek was obtained legally. The arrest was a formality. "When is he getting out?" "Tonight. Him and Titan both." Keisha's heart started beating again. "He's coming back. He's coming back." That night, a truck pulled up to the cabin. Keisha was on the porch before the engine died. Marcus got out. He looked exhausted. His suit was rumpled. His eyes were hollow. But when he saw her, something in his face came alive. She ran to him. He caught her, held her, didn't let go. "I'm sorry," he whispered against her hair. "I'm so sorry I wasn't there." "It's not your fault. I should have—" "Stop!" Keisha pulled back, looked at his face. "None of this is your fault. You saved me. You saved both of us." "She's gone, Keisha. They took her. We're going to get her back." Marcus's eyes searched hers. "How do you know?" "Because I have to." Her voice cracked. "Because giving up isn't an option. Because that little girl needs her mother, and I'm not going to let anyone keep us apart." Marcus pulled her close again. "Whatever it takes," he said. "Whatever we have to do, I'm with you." They went inside together. Mama June had made coffee. Titan was already there talking quietly with 2 other club members who'd arrived earlier. "The hearing is in 2 days," Michelle said. She'd driven up that morning with a stack of files and a look of grim determination. "We have 48 hours to build the strongest case possible." "What do we need?" Marcus asked. "Character witnesses. Documentation. Proof that Keisha has a stable support system. Michelle spread papers across the kitchen table. Derek's arrest changes everything. No judge will award custody to a man facing federal charges, but we still need to prove that Zoe is better off with her mother. She is. Mama June's voice was fierce. Anyone with eyes can see that. I know, but courts don't run on common sense. Michelle looked at Keisha. They run on evidence, and right now all the court sees is a young mother who lived with a motorcycle club and whose daughter was removed during a federal raid. Keisha's stomach dropped. So I'm still the bad guy. You're not the bad guy, but perception matters. Michelle leaned forward. We need to change the narrative. Show the judge who you really are, not what Derek's lawyers painted you as. How? We start with affidavits, written statements from everyone who's seen you with Zoe. Michelle looked around the room. Mama June, Titan, anyone else who can speak to what kind of mother Keisha is? I'll do it, Mama June said immediately. I'll write whatever you need. Me too, Titan added. Every member of this club has watched Keisha with that baby. We all saw it. Good. Michelle made notes. We also need to establish a permanent residence, somewhere stable, somewhere the court will approve. The cabin, Marcus said. It's in my name. Paid off, no mortgage. That could work, Michelle nodded slowly. But a cabin in the woods isn't ideal. Is there anything else? Lorraine has a house in the city, Marcus said. She offered to let Keisha stay there, long-term if needed. Keisha looked at him. Your ex-wife. She wants to help. Marcus's voice was soft. She lost Jasmine. She doesn't want to see another mother lose her child. Michelle wrote something down. I'll talk to Lorraine. If she's willing to provide housing and testify on Keisha's behalf, that strengthens our case significantly. What else? Keisha asked. What else can we do? Pray, Michelle said quietly, and hope the judge sees the truth. The next morning, Rebecca Torres called. We found everything, she said. Her voice was tight with controlled excitement. Derek's communications hub, financial records, enough evidence to put him away for 3 consecutive life sentences. Keisha closed her eyes. Is it really over? For Derek, yes. Rebecca paused. But there's something else you should know about Carlos Vega. Keisha's blood went cold. What about him? We arrested him this morning, caught him trying to cross the border into Mexico. Rebecca's voice hardened. He's been charged with assault, witness tampering, and conspiracy. He's not getting out. Keisha's legs gave way. She sat down hard on the kitchen chair. Both of them. They're both in prison. Both of them. Rebecca's tone softened. You're safe, Keisha. Finally. Truly safe. Tears streamed down Keisha's face. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank yourself. Rebecca paused. You were brave enough to come forward, brave enough to testify. That took courage most people don't have. Keisha wiped her eyes. Now I just need to get my daughter back. You will? Rebecca's voice was certain. After everything you've been through, you deserve that. And more. The hearing was set for 2 p.m. Keisha arrived at the courthouse at noon. Marcus beside her. Mama June behind them. Titan, Lorraine, a dozen club members and their wives. All of them there for her. All of them family. Michelle met them on the steps. The foster mother is testifying today, she said quietly. Mrs. Delgado. She's been caring for Zoe for the past 3 days. Keisha's heart clenched. Is that good or bad? I don't know yet. Michelle's face was unreadable. But whatever happens, stay calm. Stay focused. Don't let them see you break. They walked inside. The courtroom was the same one. Same wood paneling, same fluorescent lights, same American flag. But everything else had changed. Derek's table was empty. His lawyers were gone. The plaintiff's side was a ghost town. The gallery, however, was packed. Everyone Keisha loved sat behind her, a wall of leather and love and fierce determination. Judge Coleman entered at exactly 2 p.m. "All rise." Everyone stood. "Be seated." The judge opened her folder. "We're here today to address the emergency motion for reunification filed by the respondent Keisha Williams." She looked up. "Given the significant developments since our last hearing, I've decided to hear testimony from all relevant parties before making a decision." She looked at Michelle. "Ms. Ford, you may call your first witness." Michelle stood. "I call Keisha Williams to the stand." Keisha's legs shook as she walked to the witness box. The bailiff swore her in. She sat down and tried to remember how to breathe. "Ms. Williams," Michelle's voice was calm, steady. "Please tell the court what happened on the day your daughter was taken into custody." Keisha took a breath, and she told them. Everything. The raid, the arrests, the social worker who appeared out of nowhere. The moment Zoe was ripped from her arms. Her voice broke when she described Zoe's screams, the way she'd reached for her mother. The word mama echoing through the courthouse halls. "And where is your daughter now?" Michelle asked gently. "In foster care." Keisha wiped her eyes. "I haven't seen her in 3 days. I haven't been allowed to call. I don't even know if she's sleeping at night, if she's crying, if she—" Her voice failed. Michelle gave her a moment, then continued. "Miss Williams, tell the court about your living situation before Zoe was removed." "I was staying at the Hells Angels clubhouse, in an apartment above the main building." Keisha steadied herself. "I know that sounds bad. I know what people think about motorcycle clubs. But those people saved my life. They took me in when I had nothing. Fed me. Protected me. Helped me get a lawyer I couldn't afford." "And is the clubhouse still your residence?" "No. It was sealed as part of the federal investigation. But I have other options now." Keisha looked at the gallery. "Lorraine Thompson has offered me her guest room. Mama June has offered to help with child care." Her voice strengthened. "These people are my family, not by blood, by choice. And they've shown me more love in the past few weeks than I've experienced in my entire life." Michelle nodded. "No further questions." The judge looked at the CPS attorney. "Your witness." The attorney stood. Young, nervous, clearly not prepared for a case that had become national news. "Ms. Williams, you say the Hells Angels protected you. But isn't it true that some of their members have criminal records?" "Yes." "And isn't it true that the clubhouse has been linked to various illegal activities over the years?" "Linked, never proven." Keisha's voice hardened. "And isn't it also true that the man who tried to take my daughter is now facing life in federal prison for actual crimes, drug trafficking, money laundering, conspiracy to murder, not rumors, not accusations, real charges?" The attorney blinked. "I'm asking the questions here." "Then ask better questions." Keisha leaned forward. "Ask me about my daughter. Ask me about the nights I stayed up with her when she had a fever. Ask me about the double shifts I worked so she'd never go hungry. Ask me about the hell I escaped to keep her safe." "Ms. Williams, my daughter was taken from me because I lived with people who looked scary." Keisha's voice broke, but she kept going. "Not because I was a bad mother, not because I neglected her, because of how things looked." The courtroom was silent. I've spent my whole life being judged for things I couldn't control: foster care, poverty, an abusive relationship. Tears streamed down her face, and every time I tried to do the right thing, the system punished me for it. She looked directly at the judge. I'm not perfect, I've made mistakes, but my daughter knows she's loved. She knows she's safe, and she deserves to be with the one person who has never stopped fighting for her. The CPS attorney had nothing. No further questions, he mumbled. Judge Coleman called a 15-minute recess. Keisha walked back to the defense table on shaking legs. You did great, Michelle whispered. Really great. Is it enough? I think so, but there's still the foster mother's testimony. When the recess ended, the CPS attorney called Mrs. Delgado to the stand. Keisha watched the older woman walk to the witness box. Mid-60s, kind face, gray hair. Her heart pounded. Everything depended on what happened next. Mrs. Delgado, the attorney began. You've been caring for Zoe Williams for the past 3 days. Can you describe her condition when she arrived? She was scared, crying, reaching for someone who wasn't there. Mrs. Delgado's voice was soft. It took hours to calm her down. And how has she been since then? Difficult, not eating well, not sleeping well. Mrs. Delgado paused. She cries for her mother constantly. Mama. Over and over. It's the only word she knows. Keisha's heart shattered. In your professional opinion, is Zoe Williams in need of continued protective custody? Mrs. Delgado was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that changed everything. No. The attorney's head snapped up. Excuse me, I've been a foster mother for 32 years. Mrs. Delgado's voice strengthened. I've cared for hundreds of children. Babies who were truly abused. Toddlers who flinched at every touch. Kids who didn't know what love looked like. Her eyes found Keisha. Zoe is not one of those children. The courtroom stirred. But the circumstances, the attorney started. The circumstances are that a mother who loves her daughter got caught in someone else's war. Mrs. Delgado's voice hardened. I've watched Zoe these past 3 days. She's not traumatized by her mother. She's traumatized by being separated from her mother. She looked at the judge. Every time she cries, she's reaching for the woman who clearly loves her more than anything in this world. The attorney tried to interrupt, but Mrs. Delgado kept going. I've seen the news. I know about the arrests. I know about the drug charges and the federal investigation. She paused. And I know that the only person in this whole mess who was trying to protect that baby was the woman sitting at that table. Judge Coleman leaned forward. Mrs. Delgado, are you recommending reunification? I'm saying that if you don't give that baby back to her mother today, you'll be doing more harm than any motorcycle club ever could. The courtroom erupted. Keisha couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only stare at this stranger who had just changed everything. The judge called for order. Ms. Ford, Mr. Patterson, do either of you have additional witnesses? Michelle stood. Your Honor, I'd like to submit several character affidavits for the record. Written statements from community members, employers, and associates speaking to Ms. Williams's character and fitness as a parent. Submitted. The judge looked at the CPS attorney. Patterson shook his head. No further witnesses, Your Honor. Then I'm ready to rule. Judge Coleman removed her glasses, rubbed her eyes. This case has been one of the most unusual I've seen in 30 years on the bench. What started as a custody dispute has become a federal investigation involving drug trafficking, witness tampering, and allegations of coercion. She looked at Keisha. Ms. Williams, I owe you an apology. When this hearing began, I had concerns about your living situation. The Hells Angels have a certain reputation, and I allowed that reputation to color my judgment." Keisha held her breath. "But reputations aren't always accurate. I've heard testimony today from people who clearly care about you and your daughter. People who've shown more family values than many blood relatives I've seen in this courtroom." The judge picked up her gavel. "It is the ruling of this court that the minor child Zoe Williams be immediately returned to her mother, Keisha Williams. All temporary custody orders are hereby vacated. This case is dismissed." The gavel fell. Keisha collapsed. Michelle caught her before she hit the floor. Mama June rushed forward. Marcus was shouting something. People were crying, hugging, celebrating. But Keisha could only think one thing. Zoe. Zoe's coming home. They brought Zoe from the foster home 2 hours later. Keisha waited on the courthouse steps, surrounded by her family. Marcus stood beside her, his hand in hers. Solid. Warm. Real. A car pulled up. A social worker got out. And there in her arms was Zoe. The baby's head was turned away. She was quiet. Too quiet for a child who usually never stopped moving. Then she saw Keisha. "Mama." The word was a whisper. A prayer. A question. "I'm here, baby." Keisha's voice broke. "Mama's right here." Zoe's face crumpled. She reached out with both arms, straining toward her mother with everything she had. Keisha ran. She took Zoe from the social worker and held her so tight she was afraid she might break her. The baby clung to her neck, sobbing, shaking, saying, "Mama, Mama, Mama," over and over like she was afraid to stop. "I'm here," Keisha sobbed. "I'm here. I'm never letting you go again. Never." They stood there for what felt like hours, mother and daughter, reunited. The others kept their distance. Let them have this moment. Finally, Zoe's sobs quieted. She pulled back and looked at Keisha's face. Her tiny hand touched her mother's cheek as if to make sure she was real. "Mama." "That's right, sweet girl. Mama's here." Zoe smiled. And Keisha finally let herself believe it was over. Marcus appeared at her side. "Hey, little one." He reached out, let Zoe grab his finger. "I missed you." Zoe gurgled and reached for his beard. Marcus laughed, the first real laugh Keisha had heard from him since this nightmare began. "She's got a grip," he said. "She takes after her mama." Keisha smiled through her tears. "Stubborn." Marcus looked at her. His eyes were wet. "I love you," he said quietly. "Both of you. I love you too." They stood there together. The three of them, a family forged in fire. 6 months later. The apartment in Lorraine's house had become home. Keisha worked at the auto shop 3 days a week, spent the rest of her time with Zoe, helped Mama June cook dinner for whoever showed up hungry. She'd never had a routine before. Never had people who expected her to be somewhere, not because they needed something from her, but because they wanted her there. It was terrifying. It was wonderful. It was family. Sunday dinner had become tradition. Every week, everyone gathered. Food, laughter, stories, love. Zoe, now 18 months old, toddled everywhere, into everything, chattering constantly in a language only she understood. "Ghost, ghost!" she shrieked when Marcus's Harley pulled up. He scooped her up, swinging her high enough to make her giggle. "Hey, princess, were you good for Mama?" "She's never good," Keisha said, smiling. "She takes after you. That's my girl." After dinner, Marcus pulled her aside. "I have something for you." "What?" He reached into his pocket, pulled out a small box. Keisha's heart stopped. "Marcus, is that? It's not what you think." He opened it. Inside was a necklace, a small silver pendant shaped like an angel wing. It was Jasmine's. I gave it to her on her 18th birthday. Lorraine found it when she was going through some boxes. He fastened it around Keisha's neck. She would have wanted you to have it. She would have loved you, Keisha. Just like I do. What did you say? I love you. Marcus's eyes met hers. I've loved you since the moment I saw you counting coins in that pharmacy. Your strength, your stubbornness, the way you fight for your daughter with everything you have. Marcus, you don't have to say it back. I know it's complicated. I know I'm older. I know I've got more baggage than any one person should have. But I needed you to know. Keisha kissed him. When she pulled back, Marcus looked stunned. I love you too, she said. I didn't think I'd ever be able to say that to anyone. But I love you. I love our weird, broken, beautiful family. And I love the life we're building together. Marcus smiled. Yeah. Somewhere behind them, Titan whooped. Mama June started clapping. Zoe shrieked with delight even though she had no idea what was happening. And Keisha laughed. That night after Zoe was asleep, Keisha stood at the window and looked out at the city. So much had changed since that night in the pharmacy. She'd walked in with $11.87. She'd walked out with something money could never buy. A father figure who'd found redemption in protecting her. A community that had opened their hearts without hesitation. A love that had grown from the most unlikely soil. Marcus came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. What are you thinking about? Everything. Nothing. She leaned back against his chest. How different things could have been. How lucky we are that they turned out this way. It wasn't luck. His voice was soft. It was you. Your strength, your courage. You made this happen, Keisha. All of it. I had help. Everyone needs help. He pressed his lips to her hair. The trick is learning to accept it. They stood there together, watching the city lights flicker in the darkness. Marcus? Yeah. Thank you. For seeing me that night. For stopping. For not walking away. I could never walk away from you. He turned her around to face him. You're my family now. You and Zoe. And family doesn't walk away. Keisha reached up, touched the angel wing pendant at her throat. Family, she repeated. Family, Marcus confirmed. And standing there in his arms, surrounded by the rumble of motorcycles and the laughter of people who loved her, Keisha Williams finally understood what that word meant. Not blood, not obligation. Choice. Love. The courage to help a stranger in a pharmacy. And the strength to let yourself be helped in return. She had walked into that pharmacy with $11.87 and a dying car, and a daughter who was screaming with hunger. She had walked out with a family, and that was worth more than all the money in the world.